Mila girl, his oldest daughter, when the day Mila was born, Moose had just this like ease to him after that, to where like everything just like wasn't important baseball wise. And like to sit back and see that, I would tell him and Steph, his wife, all the time, I'm like, man, like what you guys got going on right now, like I envisioned that one day. You know, I was about 10 years away from that, but I've always told myself, like, I used to watch them walking out of the field, holding hands or holding Mila's hand and she's jumping up and down. And like, for me, like, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, man, I want that. Like, I want that at some point in time in my life.
You think that your retirement was easier, or you felt that, fuck it, I'm good now because of Jack?
1,000%.
Like, if you didn't have Jack, what do you think you would have done?
Probably still be
Still
Mexico.
trying.
Yeah,
Australia?
Or
Is that a recruit?
I've gotten a couple of offers from Mexico. We're not going to go there. We're going to keep podcasting and see.
I mean, if it's in Cabo, I'll go with you.
It's Cabo over there. Is this father of four type stuff right here?
Bro, you know how it was.
Yeah, what is that?
Dude, I always said, like, when I was a kid, like, if I ever get Crocs in a minivan, I've kind of given up.
Are you driving a minivan?
I have a minivan.
And you have Crocs.
And I got Crocs. That's where we're at.
That's where we're at. Came here quicker than we knew it.
How many do you have?
Four.
What are the ages?
7. Goldie just turned 4 yesterday.
Yeah.
7, 6, 4, and 1.
Oh, wow.
Goldie is an absolute rock star.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She is, all of Moose's kids, they have their own little, like, you know, unique personalities.
Yeah.
They have their similarities. Goldie is an absolute rock star. I always tell everybody I want to come back in my next life and be Goldie.
For sure, dude. She doesn't eat her lunch. We make it at home, like for school, because it's not hot.
What are you making?
I was over on time just filming all of them, and I was like, they're all just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I got over to her, and it was like,
Yeah.
smile for the camera.
Loves the
She just
camera.
turned it on.
Absolutely loves the camera.
Turned it on.
They had a birthday party I missed yesterday, obviously, but it was like princesses, like they had like little diner cars as like gift bags. Like she was dressed up in a princess. Everything was pink. It was awesome. I'll show you some of the pictures in a second.
What do they say in old school? He's like, yeah, we kept the light, bounce house.
Yeah.
This
This is the only picture I got with her on her birthday.
Crazy.
This is a perfect.
So cute.
Jesus, cutie.
Holy cow.
Goodness gracious. Dude, crazy that this is, I mean, talking about kids, when we met, you came out of high school.
Crazy.
Can I tell a story? Can I tell the story?
Which one? You gotta, like, depends on which one it is.
Idaho Falls. I'm gonna tell it. We can cut it out. I'm gonna tell it.
Oh yeah, you can tell
All right,
it.
I'll tell
Yeah.
So in locker rooms, we all know how it is. You just do your thing. You gotta get dressed. You get dressed. You gotta go shower. You go shower. We're just coming out of high school, just signed. Big dog coming in. You know,
We didn't have public showers
Wonder where this is going.
at Chatsworth High School. We didn't feature the public showers.
It's way less R-rated than you may imagine, because it was the exact opposite. He went into the stall in
I
the
was
bathroom
like,
to get
dude,
changed instead
Never
of changing
changed in
at his
front of
locker.
dudes before.
Yeah. Pro ball first for that too.
I was like, all right, here we go. And then I walk outside and I'm like, I got fined.
He went right into the box, dude.
Yeah.
Kangaroo
box.
court.
So-
You need to bring that back.
Bring it back. Right?
So the best part about that story is obviously I got fined for that, but I got fined for every day I missed, which was a lot of days. So
Yeah, because he came. I mean, he didn't sign right away, right? So even short
July.
Yeah.
oh, it was
So we fined him for every day he wasn't
So my
there.
mom gave me $300 to get by. 'Cause I signed my got my bonus, hadn't come in the mail yet, and so I don't have any cash. I have no dollars. So they fine me all these fines, and all of a sudden I have no cash left. I had to ask Wilson Tucker to buy
Right.
me food on the road. Like I had to get money for dues and stuff. I'm like, I got no money.
That's crazy though, because I remember being on the road, and you bought pizza for like whoever was there,
Yeah.
like a whole bunch of us, and I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Like this guy's rich, like he's buying his pizza, you know, coming in, signing this big contract, and for us it was just super cool. And I mean, it was your first moment for me of showing some leadership and like just being one of the guys, which was neat.
That was on Connie Sue because I didn't have no money.
I didn't know that then. It was
No.
like, oh, this is
I was
awesome.
like,
Hos tells a story about when you were thinking about signing and you called him to just say, hey man, don't want anything from you, but just want to reach out. Like at a young age.
Yeah, so I had just signed, or I had signed the year before, and the front office was like, hey, can you reach out to Haas and like get him to sign?
You're like 19 now.
Yeah, I had 1 year, and I was like, yeah, I'll call him. So I called him, I'm like, Haas, get every penny, dude.
Yes, dude, he did. He literally called me, he told me that. Get every penny. Listen, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, which way to go. Get every penny you can. If you need anything, hit me up.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
No, you were there for a long ride, buddy.
I was
and then I did sign, and then you called Nick Lito, and you go, hey, this kid's living with me. We're doing instructs. Come out to Arizona. They're like, hey, Moose called and said you're living with him. And I probably didn't pick up a meal, a drink, anything until about 2014. Yeah. I mean, this guy just took care of me, man. He took care of me, and it got to the point where like I wanted to do what he did for somebody else. So then when that younger guy came up, I made sure to do that. And like that was a goal, like to be able to be that guy to pass this down. And I'm hoping it's still getting passed down now, but Moose is the one that started all that stuff, man.
Appreciate that, 3-5.
Nah.
Appreciate that.
For the kid. Dude, I mean, there's so many stories that go back from short season, then he came in 2008. So 2007, I signed 2007 spring training. You signed 2007 short season, so whenever, July.
Can I cut you off really quick?
Go.
I got to that Idaho Falls team, and I'm like, all these guys are going to the big leagues. Dude. Yeah. I was like, these are grown men, right? Like, this guy was literally the best hitter I've ever seen. Both sides of the
when I got here.
Both sides of the plate. I was like, this is unbelievable. I'm like, how old are you? He's like 36. I'm like,
Dude, all right. Let me cut you off. I was older for the group. All right, I was 23 in extended, I think 24 in extended. So
Yeah.
I went, so 24. So I go over here and I'm with 18-year-olds, a lot of them. And or if at worst case they're at a college, so 21. So I was old then. Thankfully I caught up to my age group at some point, but I was old. They would call me grandpa.
yeah.
24 years
Kind
old.
of mean.
Yeah.
No, but it was cool because like I got to learn. Like I didn't go to college, so I got to learn how to be a professional from like you and all the other dudes that were over there. And
As if I knew then.
I mean, you knew more than I did. That's for sure.
So what do you think a guy coming out of high school versus coming out of college? Obviously the college guy is a little more polished and there's a lot of structure in college, the class, study hall and all that. But like, why is that such a big gap?
Age is huge, especially in that era. In that time, they call it like the decade of decisions, and the amount of brain development that goes from an 18-year-old to a 21-year-old, and obviously there's still much more that needs to develop. But yeah, you see it. You probably see these high school kids.
Well, you see it with my son. Like my son's 5 and he's playing with like 8-year-olds, and like Mick's good, he's athletic, but like the 8-year-olds are just so much better than him. And it's like that 2-year gap difference of like growing and being smarter and getting stronger. Yeah, it's like, and when he gets to 8 years old, he's going to be absolute savage, but he is right now. He is a savage, dude.
They went to their first football practice and Moose sent me a video and they were like teaching like technique on how to tackle, and Mick just rocks up and boom, just levels this dude out.
It was also flag football too. So
Good.
it was flag.
So
But
as
we
a
didn't have flags on, and like he's like form tackle, boom, put him on his back. I'm like, oh god.
So how do you decide as a parent whether to play your kid up to the talent level and maybe struggle at that age because they're just bigger, stronger, faster, versus staying at your age and just dominates and just develop? How are you navigating that?
Well, for me, when I was a kid, like my dad always made me play up. So I was always playing with players that were always better than me. And I'm sure you did the same thing. Most athletes do the same thing. Because I don't want my son to always be the best player on the field. I want him to have to struggle and work hard and continue to, build his confidence through his successes on the field, that like, oh man, I can actually play with an 8-year-old, or I can do these things that they're doing, but I'm just not as good yet. And so keeping him like going that way, I think I think it was beneficial for me. but we'll see how it goes, because he loves it. He loves playing with the older kids. All of his friends are older. He gets along a lot better with the older kids. So
Right.
When you develop, like whether you go to college or not, did you go to college?
No.
You went to college. So you start,
Come on, man.
no, well, you look
I
like
could not
it's-
get accepted
It's the
anywhere.
glasses. The glasses. The glasses make you look like you went. But whether you go to college or not, so I feel like everyone's different, right? You have guys that are just that get it a little earlier or don't, and it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like I didn't think you guys were any less mature or anything than a college player. Maybe you didn't know the way yet to do certain things, but it wasn't like you were acting like a child, right? So like, but I find it interesting too, like when you develop at that young age, or you guys like physically you developed a lot earlier than I did. So like I was a late bloomer. I didn't grow into anything until I was at least almost a senior in high school. So I wasn't getting drafted or doing anything. Like I was nowhere near getting the looks that you guys might be getting, but you were probably somewhere near this size at that point, right? So that one, a physical advantage is one that you can't teach, you can't learn, but going to college, I think is a life experience that I'm very interested, this is way off baseball topic, but very interested in, are people going to send their kids to college
Right.
in the future? Because you can learn anywhere now. You could learn at home, you could obviously online, but that was such an experience in growing. And like, thankfully for you guys, you had baseball to do that for you, but what if you don't? I guess you do it in the workforce. Like, would you think like college is gonna be the way when they grow up?
I'm trying to get this guy to second grade right now. I mean, we got 4 of them, so it's like we're trying to navigate, elementary school right now.
You probably have experience.
I had an opportunity to go to Georgia Southern,
Okay.
and I was very immature. I think it all depends on the individual. And like you said, you can be a 17-year-old, but you've lived a life that allows you to be a little bit more mature. You act like a 22-year-old, and you can embrace or you can lock in with college dudes. I was so immature, and I was so naive as to what I was walking into. As a kid from Australia, I signed throwing 84 miles an hour. They were looking at me as, athletic kid, can play shortstop. They weren't looking at me like an Eric Hosmer or a Mike Moustakas. Like I was lucky to sign, so totally different perspective, but I was not ready for Pro Ball. I was not ready at all for what Pro Ball was. I was one of the best players in my country. And I show up and I'm watching guys take BP the first day and they're hitting missiles. Like I've never heard balls hit like this in my life, and everyone that gets in the cage is doing it. I'm thinking I'm way out of my depths, and I think a lot of that, my early adjustment or lack of adjustment to Pro Ball was part of the reason why I was out of the game in 3 years the first time around, because I just could not get into the rhythm, and I never saw, with what was around me, I never saw my abilities as being able to get to the big leagues. I was like, I'm just here for fun now.
So were those 3 years, you played shortstop those 3 years and
No,
then came back as a pitcher?
I was a shortstop right the way up, and I would come in and close games in Australia. And crazy story. So we're at the national championships, under 18 national championships. I'm a shortstop, but they have me pitch this one game. I give up a base knock to the first batter of the game, and I'm perfect for the rest of the game. 11 punch outs, 81 pitches, 7 innings, we win the game. There was a scout from the Twins there, and he then went off to an under-16s tournament and never saw me start my second game, where I didn't get out of the first inning. Lucky for me, that scout called me a week later and was like, hey, I'm interested in signing you as a pitcher. I didn't pitch that much, but I went over as a pitcher instead of a shortstop. I got offered to go back as a shortstop and a first baseman at 23. So I've had multiple opportunities to come back and sign, and then eventually the WBC was what got me back over here as a sidearm pitcher blowing doors.
You ever tried?
Doors. You want the slider? No, I want doors.
You ever tried ditching the accent? Tried trick him?
No, this is the only reason I'm here. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest. If I sounded like you guys, they'd be like, there's just another dude that didn't have a very good career.
You know what's so cool too is like playing with a guy like Moylan, like last year and the last like 2 years, like getting towards the end of your career, you're not in there every day. Everyday guys are locked in. You're getting your workout in, you're getting your treatment, you're in the cage, whatever. The role guys, you have so much more time to like mess with some guys,
I love
to get
the
to
role
know
guy.
dudes. It's so fun.
It's so
man.
much fun.
And I steal a lot of your material. I steal a lot of these guys' material that I've been playing with
I
over
steal
the
it all.
years. But dude, there is something to like that group of guys that's on the bench, say it's 4 or 5 position players, and we're all like under the tunnel, we're in the batting cage getting ready to go. You become like a unit, like a team, like we used to call ourselves the Scrub Squad. So we're like, hey, we got 3 members of the Scrub Squad in there, come on, break it down. And we would all break it down, and like, it was such a little like bond that we had going on that, you know, I'm not saying now you're not going to be playing with the White Sox or whatever, but you're in that role.
I love it.
You got to love it.
Yeah, it's obviously, you know, when you're younger, it's so much fun to play every day. Like when we rolled into the clubhouse, it was like, okay, I know I'm hitting second or sixth, depending on righty or lefty. I know I'm playing third base. I know I'm getting 5 at-bats today.
Yeah.
And there's something comforting about that. But like now it's like, I'm probably facing the closer, throwing 102. He's running out there with a teal glove and has no idea where it's going, right? And then he's gonna probably bang a slider at 93, and like we're just trying to, you know, stay alive at this point.
Yeah.
But for the first 6 innings, it's great. Like, I love it. I'm like, man, all right, Moose, go get him. I'm like, all right, coach.
What you've
Boys,
basically
cheer me on.
effectively, you've been introduced to the life of a reliever. So
Yeah.
hence the reason why I enjoyed it for 30
I've
years.
been waiting for this for 13 years.
Well, I was going to say they're getting to experience this now. I was
Yeah.
like, this was my whole career. It was amazing. It was amazing. Everyone's like, you didn't make it to the big leagues. Like, are you feel bad about that? I mean, absolutely not. It's amazing. It's the best life ever.
What about bullpen guys? That's a bullpen, the guys down in the bullpen is like a different life. I remember hearing stories of like guys saying, oh, this dude in the bullpen said this, this, and this. I'm like, I haven't heard this dude speak
dude's never
not
spoke
one
to me.
time. So like the clubhouse and then that bullpen goes out.
It's a family.
Yeah,
Like you
man,
said,
it
you had
is.
the scrub squad. We had the A squad and the B squad. You knew when I first got to Kansas City, it was Wade Davis, it was Hochevar, it was Herrera. It was just like, I was going to throw in the 7-run games to clean it up. That was my role, and make funny jokes. And then eventually I get to the point where I earned my way into a little bit of respect and got some guys out. But like I told you, that was all house money for me. So my whole perspective of the game had changed from having to grind through being a player coach through in second Tommy John by himself to being back in the big leagues with a team that just won the World Series and has got a family feeling. I was like, this is gold. Kansas City itself, the city, my wife, 2 best years of our lives. We lived out in Overland Park. It was just a beautiful city to play
It is.
baseball in at a beautiful time when these guys had just set the bar as high as they could.
Yeah, it was.
I'm listening to you guys laughing, telling like these roles and embracing these new roles. And has there ever been, it's making me think, has there ever been a time where it was hard to embrace this role or a new role where like you didn't like it? Now you're looking at it like, oh, it's great. But was there ever a time where like you didn't want to be part of the scrub squad or what it may be?
Yeah, early in your career, you don't want to be one of those guys. Like
You never felt that
No.
so early in your career. You
No.
be
Yeah, but
honest,
what
right?
about the transition time? Was it like, was it like, all right, here I am, or really you struggle with it? Yeah. You know?
I was fine with it because I knew who I was. Like I knew my everyday playing days were over. Like I'm not able to run out there 7 times a week and compete at the highest level, especially when they're rolling 23-year-old dudes out there throwing 97 every single day.
Yeah.
It's like I was making fun of you a little bit earlier, but the older you get, your body starts breaking down, and you can't continuously run out there for 9 innings every day. Like 3-4 times, good. I need a little breather, and then we can get back on it. But I actually embraced hitting in the 8th and 9th innings. It was fun. It's like I'm getting 1 at bat, game's on the line. Like
You could be a hero.
yeah.
Yeah.
And all expectations are kind of zero because you're facing the closer. So
Right.
it's like, no, it's I think you have to accept your role, and that's what we all talked about even in Kansas City. Like when we had guys like Rod and you know, Gore and all these guys, like they knew exactly what their role is. So like when it's time for them to go, they were ready to rock. And I think as far as watching them play, we got lucky in that aspect of like, these guys know their role. They know what they have to do to help us win. Why am I any different? This is my role now. Here we go. And this is what I'm going to do to help us win.
Love that, dude.
Yeah, we and the communication, like not even just verbalizing everything in Kansas City, but the way that we all knew each other. Like we knew Locaine, he needed a couple off days every now and then. He's got big, long, lanky legs, you know what I mean? He's running all throughout the outfield in Kansas City, Detroit, it's a big division, a lot of ground to cover. So like we can tell when it was like, all right, Locaine needs a day here. And Dyson had that feel of like, hey, Skip, you know, Locaine needs a day. I got him right here. I got him today and let Gordo get it tomorrow. And like, it got to the point where like everyone knew each other so well that like it stood out when something like that needed to happen. So these guys, these role players, they did such a good job of when their number was called, these guys were ready.
Yeah.
And like, whether it was late in the game, whether it was the start of the game, I mean, they were ready to roll.
Is that because you guys developed from the lower bushes all the way up? Or is it?
Dude, if I would have gotten to the big leagues, I would have 100% have been in that role and
Right.
was mentally prepared for that. Even if I played every day in the minor leagues, there's no way I would have been an everyday guy. It would have been like, come spell somebody, fill in a spot, pinch hit, run, whatever. And I don't think I would have had any problem with that at all.
It's like you've been around the Braves lately. Like those guys are rolling out every single day.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's unbelievable.
I love that.
They are rolling out 15-1. Acuna's still in the game.
Yeah.
Like he's not coming out of the game.
No,
and
he
it's
wants it.
like so I'm with Pilar right now, and Nicky Lopez, and they're like, dude, we never played. Like we're just we knew we weren't playing. We knew the lineup was up. Like
Well, I had his flashes though. He still had his flashes where he'd serve a couple of homers
was
in
a
left
gamer.
field.
he said he had like 18 days off, and then he's in the playoffs. Like bottom or top 10, leading off the inning. He's like, go get him, and he was ready to go. But like.
CC, shout out Christian Colon, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Not getting an at bat for 30 days, 20 days, and then comes and gets the biggest hit in my life, biggest hit in your life.
Biggest hit I've ever seen.
Two run double, or we take the lead.
Game
in
winning.
game
He did it like
5.
twice. He did it in the
Wild card game?
Was it the wild card game?
In 14.
That was 14 though.
No,
yeah.
He
that
got
was
a hit.
Salvi. That was Salvi that got the hit. He did it. He had like a chopper to third base, and
That was during the wild card game. It was to tie it.
there you
Yeah,
go.
because I dove. I was on
In
third.
15 though, he had one playoff at bat.
And I was
Game
like-
winning, World Series winning RBI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 for 1.
And literally his last at bat was like middle of September.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
That is crazy.
But it was just, that's how we were built. Same thing like he's saying with Atlanta. It was like, these guys are playing every day. Low Kane needs a day every now and then, which we have an extra outfielder that'll compensate that. And that's just what it was, That was like the makeup of our team. And that was just kind of, we didn't really match up, That was just, it was every day. Everyone was out there.
A couple of perfect veteran pieces just to top it off and make the chemistry just even more
Yeah.
than what it was. Guthrie and
Yeah.
When you throw
Those guys
Kendrys
at the
Morales
board,
in the mix, everything's great.
Oh man, that guy was so good.
Oh, God.
He would get to the field every day, make a big plate of Latin food, go down to the video room and have the pitcher on all fastballs and all breaking balls and just press play at the same time. And he's trying to see if you can like see something different.
Moosey, look. He breathed. Fastball. Curveball. I'm like,
See it, buddy.
all right, Kendrys, just scream it when you see it, buddy, because I'm not seeing it.
He would always see something that no one else saw.
But he did though, and then like it's when he took Keuchel to left center.
Yeah.
He
Game 5.
breathed one extra time or something. He's like sinker, and he just blasted it. I'm like, God, dude.
Kendricks had some of his best years with us.
Yeah.
And that was because remember when he was with LA, he was like an MVP type guy, hit the walk-off and busted
his leg.
his
Broke
leg
his leg.
during the celebration. Got healthy, came to us and was nasty.
He actually helped me a lot through my ACL surgery.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. So as weird as that is, like,
Yeah.
because I think he tore his knee on home plate,
Right.
and after like the doctor came in and said your season's over, you got a torn ACL. He's like, Moosey, you work hard, you don't feel no pain. I'm like, okay, Kendricks, like let's rock, dude. I'm like, it hurts though, buddy. Like he's like, no, you make it a mindset. I'm like, all right, here we go. And so he walked me through that. And
Kendricks was a savage.
That's not a connection that I would ever think, and most people would never think that
Right.
Kendrys Morales was able to
Yeah.
give you that initial spark of your rehab, because that's something I'm an expert at, is recovering from injuries, and it's true. If you allow yourself to think of anything else other than the end goal
Yeah.
and not push yourself through, you can get through rehab pretty easily.
Yeah.
But if you don't push, it's over.
yeah, it was wild because I remember Doc Key was like talking to me and Kendrick just walked in the back room and he's like, "You're gonna be okay," and I was like, "Oh, all right."
Dr. Yave.
The veteran pieces though is interesting because this group, these guys primarily spearheading this, 2007, 2008, who was 9, Crow, CC, that group like
CDs?
and then prior to that was Gordo, Butler, Hoach, like
Yeah.
that whole group. Duffy was in that mix.
Duffy was my year.
Duffy was supplemental first round that year. Even like Geo's was 08 second round, right? There was such a good draft class that they kept together. So Dayton killed it in that time frame of dropping all these guys into a bucket, but like keeping that squad together a lot. And, you know, they all moved up fairly fast, but I got to see pieces of it, but winning at every level. And that kept moving up, right? Like at Burlington, we won, right?
Oh yeah.
We won in Arkansas 2 times in AAA. You guys were already in the big leagues at that point, but still that whole winning attitude carried through. Then these guys become the main pieces of the pie or puzzle up there while mixing in veteran pieces, but it really wasn't like massive names. It's not like they went and bought this. So it was like to do that 2 years in a row, make that run all the way to the World Series, super impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, one of
fun to watch.
one of our favorite quotes is for sure is Johnny Gomes during the celebration. He's like, MVP,
speech.
Beat him.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year. We don't have him. Beat him.
Yeah.
Cy Young, not on our team. Beat him too. I was like,
So cool.
we just had 26 dudes ready to rock at all times.
At all times. At all times.
At all
dude.
times.
Did you guys know you had something special, like even from the minor leagues, where you guys like, hey, if we stay together, we're gonna cause some problems in the big
Every
leagues.
other team in those leagues did.
They knew it. They
Every
knew this
team.
group right here
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
bangs.
That was what was so kind of like what we talked about with Rachel. Like, how do you get a minor league player to buy into winning, and how do you instill that mentality? That was like our organizational policy.
That was
Like,
it.
Dayton made it clear. He's like, the only
Win.
way this big league team is going to be successful is if you guys are successful through the minor leagues and bring that to the big leagues. So that was like our message. So that individual battle, we just felt like we had to win. You're not feeling like you got to go out there and hit 320 to
Yeah.
move up, you know?
Is that a message? I didn't get to spend a lot of time in the minor leagues, but is that a message that's not
Humble
shared?
brag.
Yeah, must be
Humble
nice.
brag.
No, no, just went and worked. Just went and worked a few
Okay.
jobs in between.
Our bad,
Yeah. But the minor leagues, is not about winning. It's just about development. Even now, after the success that you've seen from Houston, from the success
I
you've
don't-
seen from you guys,
Are you talking about with the Royals in
I'm
general?
talking about in the whole minor league system. Is it not about winning? Is it just about development?
I don't know if we're good people to ask because, I mean, we haven't been down there
Sure.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you see the guys coming up,
That's my point.
yeah, like you want them to know how to play the game and like know how to win baseball games. There's an art to it. Like there's an art to winning baseball games. Like our goal, you saw it, like after the 5th inning, we just had to have a 1-run lead. That was it. Because then we just give it to the bullpen.
Yep.
And then in the 6th inning, if we score another one, like that's our next goal is just score another run. In the 7th inning, we just score another run and just keep adding 1 run on. And that way, towards the 8th and 9th inning, we're up 3 or 4, and we don't have to use Holland, Herrera, and Wade. But like, there's like an art to getting to that point. And then I think in 2013, we lost a lot of 1-run games. And then 2014, we started winning those 1-run games. It's like we found a way to win these games. And then it just kind of took off.
I think that it is an art for sure, but I do think the Royals, as much as it's individualized, of course you want to get to the big leagues. You individually want to get to the big leagues. You're going to go out there and do everything you can to perform so they see that, and so you get called up. Everyone's doing that. But there's no doubt in my mind the Royals, like, I wanted to win in the minor leagues. I wanted to win when we stepped on the field. I think that carried through very clearly. And 7 years in the minor leagues there, I made the playoffs every year.
Wow.
So like it would have been weird to me to not win.
Yeah.
And that was just what it was with the Royals. So I don't know, maybe that's not not every team could win in every league. Obviously someone's got to take the cake, but not getting to the playoffs would have been something that would have been more odd to me than winning.
Just feels like in the experience that I have had, you have certain guys that it's not like you're having guys play every day. You're not having guys go back to back. It's just about almost scheduled development rather than instilling the winning culture from a young age, from the rookie ball, when you don't know anyone, there's no one watching, but you still want to beat the team that you're facing. That's the winning attitude that I think is missing a little bit from the junior baseball because it's so numbers orientated right
Yeah.
now. Orientated?
One of those.
We'll
Sounded
figure it
right.
out. Australian accent, it's fine, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, but it's even like you're saying, I felt like when we were in the minor leagues, it was like the organization wanted to see when that failure came and how are you going to respond to it. I agree with you 100% that now it's a plan, you're 2 days on, you're 1 day off. And to me, at the big leagues, there's not many teams like Braves where the guys are rolling out for 160 or the goal is 162. So it almost kind of like what we were talking about earlier is like the teams that do platoon, when that playoff game comes, it's like, are they ready for this, you know? Because when you're getting thrown out there every single day, we used to have in Kansas City, in the clubhouse, it was like a TV screen and it showed the next week of pitchers we were about to face. And I'll never forget looking at the screen, seeing like Sale, Kluber, Salazar, Verlander, Scherzer, and I'm thinking, how the am I gonna survive this week? Like, these are my 30, 40 at-bats that I got. And then like you look back on that week, you got through it, you found a way. But like, I think a lot of times now, a lot of these guys, when that tough lefty is up, it's like, oh, I probably won't play that day. And then come playoff time, you're gonna face this.
You're gonna
monster.
face them, yeah.
So that could be something, you know?
And that's something too about Ned. You know, I think I was playing terrible at one point, multiple points, but at this point in particular, and we're facing Sale, and I'm like, he's got to give me a day off. Like he's been watching this. Like there's no way he can roll me out in this lineup today. Like there's just no way. Sure enough, the next day I'm in there. I'm like, he's like, you're getting 2 today, bud. I'm like, what? I haven't gotten a hit in 2 weeks. You want me to get a hit off a Sale? He's like, you're getting 2 today. Haas is getting 2 too. I'm like, sick. Rolled out there, got 2 knocks. I was like, thanks, Skip. This was awesome, dude.
Find a way. Let's go.
I was like, here we go. But like those at bats in the middle of the season prepare you for the postseason.
Yeah.
Like Haas said, okay, I'm struggling. I'm not playing good, but my manager has enough confidence in me to roll me out there against Sale, and I got the job done. So I was like, oh, playoffs time. Let's go.
Ready, baby. Bring them all.
Ready
I'm
to
hearing
rock.
this conversation, all of you talking about just winning organizations. A couple weeks ago, I read this article, tech billionaire. And he was talking about how when you get really good at what you do, you start to develop good taste. That you can notice good taste and ideas. You know which ones are going to be good, which ones are bad. And I just got to think, winners, guys who have won, been in winning organizations, winning teams, and you've just been part of winning, you get a taste for winning. You know what it looks like. You don't need a lot of time. You can walk into a clubhouse, you can take a look around, you're like, okay, we have the ingredients for winning. As 4 guys who have been part of winning, been multiple organizations, what are some of the ingredients of a winning organization from a player's perspective when you walk into a new organization?
I mean, one would just be like the camaraderie between the boys.
Bang.
Yeah.
Like if you can walk in and like we all care about each other, but like he cares about my family just as much as I care about his, and same, like if you care about that person, actually you care about him and he's not just your teammate, then you have that camaraderie that, you know, I'm going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. When you are going through tough times, like I've went through a bunch of tough times, and when my mother passed away in 2015, I remember I was in Detroit and I'm sitting in my locker and 24 dudes just came and gave me a hug, like the entire time. Like, and I'm sitting there and just every single person just came over and didn't say anything, just gave me a hug. I'm like, this is my family. So when you see those things, you can immediately walk into the clubhouse and see, oh, these boys get it. Like these boys are together.
And that's what I talked about, you know, in our first episode, where I was so lucky and grateful to come into the Royals organization because, like you said, these key ages, these 18, 19, 20, these years of your life, they're such impactful years. And I get around, you know, Moose that takes me under his wing, Telly and all these guys and see how they act. And that's where that all, you know, comes from. And that's where this family stuff and just how to be a professional, how to be an adult, how to, you know, take care of your business like a man. That's where you learn all that type of stuff. And that's what's so special about our bond and our team in Kansas City is like it's gone beyond our years in Kansas City. Like Moose's sister Lex, she lives in San Diego. So my first couple of years in San Diego, I'm going through a tough time. I'm not playing how I want to play. We're not winning. Lex was there for me, you know, whenever I needed her. There was times where we went and got coffee, we went and got lunch, and like it was like a familiar face. It was a familiar voice. Like that comforted me that I'm halfway across the country from my family. My mom and Lex are always talking to each other. I know it brings her comfort because she knows what I'm going through. I'm trying to perform. I'm trying to play at a level that I'm not playing at right now. So that's what's amazing about that group we had is it went well above and beyond just those playing days in Kansas City.
But it's not just now that it's gone beyond. I feel like that started then. I knew your family. I knew your family. You knew my family. Like we got to grow up in a way together somehow that our families were very supportive, which is amazing. They came and watched our games, and we went out. Like we would go hang out. I remember going to see Revolution with you guys. Like we taking the limo. Like we would do things like that built that bond. So now it's still here. It wasn't about like, it's not just like it naturally, I don't know, that's not the right word, not that it naturally happened. I'm not saying, we didn't just get to this point by it not developing so far back. And I think we've talked about this before too. That first organization to me is, I don't think you can replicate that.
No.
You can't replicate that, right? You go somewhere else and it's not the same. And it's not that there's no one's better or worse. It's just that young age, and even though I was old at the time, you guys were a lot younger, it still was my first experience with this professional baseball life. And like you guys spend every day together, and there's something unique about that.
Yeah.
But
truth is, no organization cares about you the way your first one does.
that's true.
And it's like, we were lucky to be able to be drafted by the Royals and Dayton Moore. I mean, I saw Dayton the other night at dinner, and it's like we're just giving hugs to each other. He walks over and sees my kids, and he's giving my kids hugs. It's like, it's unbelievable how great of a human he is.
What other sport is there though that minor league environment is so unique for young guys coming out of high school, coming out of college, being thrust into a 140 game season, living on the road in hotels with each other, literally brothers for 6 months at a time, 5 months at a time when you include spring training. There's nothing like it.
There's not.
Some of the stuff we always talk about, like you set goals, and there's certain people that, you know, if something happened to them, it's okay or it's good. And I remember my first year in pro ball, I struggled big time in low A, like terrible season, whatnot. And, you know, I remember it was like at some point in time during the All-Star break, somebody was telling me about Moose's season the year before. He struggled, beginning of low A, ended up hitting, 270. I think it was like 272 with 20. So I'll never forget what it was.
That was actually kind of exactly what it was.
It was, because I was like, all right, this is what I need to do. We didn't get there, but just knowing that he went through that gave me that perspective of like, all right, like this happens to everybody, because I feel like the trend for a baseball player is you get to another level. Say it's, you go JV to varsity to college. There's a game or two where it's like, man, this is a little bit of an adjustment, and then you got it, and then it's boom. Pro ball, maybe a couple more days, whatever. Big leagues is like, this might not happen, and this ain't just gonna be overnight, so it really, really makes you just hone in on that process and hone in on like, hey man, this is the real deal,
Yeah, that's funny you said that, because when I got called up from AA to AAA, back then AAA was a lot of older dudes, like up and down guys, and
Where I should have been. I thought that's where you're going.
No. But I got called up, and I had just come off hitting like 300 on the up to the All-Star break.
That was the most ridiculous.
I was incredible.
He was incredible. That's not, he should say
Like,
that. There's no reason to be humble about this.
That was-
He came in,
absurd.
it was video game numbers. Because you came in like 3 weeks late too, right?
Yeah, I pulled my oblique.
Right. He hit like
We were actually
22 bombs.
extended together.
Gordo too, yeah.
I don't remember what average wise, but it was like 22 homers with like 60 something RBIs in half of a minor league season after missing 3 weeks. It was insane.
It was wild.
That was the first
Absolutely.
moment for me where I saw someone, I was like, is that what it takes to get to the big leagues? Because that ain't happening
I didn't
for me.
get called up that year either.
That's crazy too.
Yeah.
Did you ever get in that zone again?
What's that?
Did you ever get in that type of zone again?
Yeah.
The big leagues?
Nah, 1 year I did.
Yeah.
But it was insane. I mean, everything I touched was a homer. It was wild. But so I got called up to AAA, and Dice was in AA with me, and he had gotten called up to AAA, and I'm struggling for like 10 days. And all the older guys are like, this guy's not gonna make it. Like this guy's terrible. I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel the same way right now, bud. But Dice goes up to somebody, goes, man, watch him get hot right now. And I ended up hitting 38 that year with 112. And Dice was like, I told you.
At the old Rosenblatt.
Oh, the black.
Ooh.
That was at Rosenblatt, yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about too, like watching people grow and certain things happen to you in your life and all that. And everybody knew kind of like we told one of our producers, when you're going to Mike Moose outside, he might punch you in the face. If he doesn't, just let him keep walking and let him just, we'll figure out how to do it from here.
I've calmed down.
But speaking of calm down, man, Mila girl, his oldest daughter, when the day Mila was born, Moose had just this like ease to him after that, to where like everything just like wasn't important baseball wise. And like to sit back and see that, I would tell him and Steph, his wife, all the time, I'm like, man, like what you guys got going on right now, like I envisioned that one day. You know, I was about 10 years away from that. But I've always told myself, like, I used to watch them walking out of the field, holding hands or holding Mila's hand and she's jumping up and down. And like, for me, like, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, man, I want that. Like, I want that at some point in time
Do
in my
you
life.
think that your retirement was easier, or you felt that, fuck it, I'm good now because of Jack?
1,000%.
Like if you didn't have Jack, what do you think you would have done?
Probably still be
Good plan.
Still trying.
Mexico.
Yeah,
Australia?
or
Is that a recruit?
I've gotten a couple
Recruiting?
offers from Mexico. We're not going to go there. We're going to keep podcasting and see.
I mean, if it's in Cabo, I'll go with you.
It's
But
Cabo out there. We should just get ownership of a team out there and start the league up. But no question. It made it 1,000% easier. And like, it's so crazy because my wife Casey, she's always during the baseball season, me and her, I would kind of tell her like she's like, I want you to talk to me and let's talk through these problems of what's going on at the field, your frustrations and all that. And you can, but to a certain extent, because to her credit, she doesn't know the lingo. She doesn't know what it's supposed to look like in a locker room, what it's like, all that type of stuff. So I've always leaned on Moose, and Moose was, the first guy when I got released that I called. And I broke down in tears to him, man. Like, I just didn't know what to do. And him telling me, just, dude, you got a wife, you got a son, you've created a family, like, go get back to that. Get back to that for a couple days and let me know where we're at. And I'm getting goosebumps now thinking of it, because after a couple days I hit him up and I'm like, dude, I'm good, man.
yeah, it's great.
I'm good.
It's great. Jack doesn't care if you went 0 for 5. Jack,
No, but he better know I was cool as fuck.
tell my story, man. I love it.
Highlights of the house. Oh, what is that, Jack? Is that Daddy? Is that Goodness.
Yeah, man. To this day, I'm hitting him up for parenting advice, man, and that's
We're just winging it, bud.
we're
That's all it is, though, man.
It's,
Just
it's all
winging
it is.
You've seen
Showing
that
up,
thing or two.
winging it.
Yeah, it's like
How many you have?
3 daughters.
3 daughters.
3 daughters, yeah.
Age?
And they, different, you've got a now reason to relax. They were my reason to grind. Like, I left my home country, I left my 2 kids at home for a lot of the time. We've spent a lot of time apart because I've had to sacrifice time over here to chase this down and give them the life that I want to give them. Now, obviously, I'm way more present now, and our relationships are phenomenal. 23-year-old, 16-year-old, and the 10-year-old, we're all jiving at a different level, and it's amazing. But to have 3 daughters, they humble you. My oldest daughter actually called me out one day. We're in London, and I've never told anybody this story, but
Another humble brag, by the way.
what? No, we're in London. She was there. I was going to see her.
Okay.
So we're in London, and I have a problem. And I'll talk to you about this, but I have a tough time controlling my emotions when I get angry, and I'm a yeller. And it's not like I'm any more angry than I was, but I just need to get it out, and that's how I get my emotions out. And my kids now know that, but at the time, my oldest daughter was like, "Look, Dad, I don't want to be around you right now," and that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I had never had an emotional stab to the heart like that, where she was like, I don't like the person you are right now, and I don't want to be around you. And that completely changed me. And it showed that what I've done is we've raised a daughter that knows how to get to me. And it made me so proud of, even though I sacrificed so much, that she still turned out to be the awesome kid that she is.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. It's so neat. I think when I was with the Rays, we had like Mike Zunino, very similar. When he had his first child, I asked him, I said, have you noticed any differences? He goes, perspective. He would come to the field, seemed happier later because he was with the family. A bad game wasn't as daunting as much of an obstacle. And I asked him about it. I said, I've seen you without a child and I've seen you with a child. What's the difference? He goes, it's the perspective that a kid gives you. And just exactly what you said, my son and my daughter, he doesn't care how, if I go 0 for 4, 4 for 4, does not care. Just daddy's home or daddy loves me.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was 2014, I was probably the worst year of my career, and I'd come home after games and I'd just sit there, just stare at the ceiling, just be like, wow, 0 for 5 again, huh, bud? Way to go. Like, this is,
Are we gonna get through this?
we're gonna go back to the field again tomorrow, and there's a chance you're gonna go 0 for 5 again. And then like,
I hate the truth.
it's so, yeah, you gotta be honest with yourself though. But then Mila was born, it's like, all I wanna do is like, after the game's over, like all my entire focus when I'm at the field is winning. Like I just wanna win, but I had something else to come home to. Like my wife is amazing, Stephanie's amazing, but she was in the grind with me. She's in the fight with me. And my daughter has no clue what baseball is. And she just wants to be with her dad. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like,
We talked about too how, man, some of these wives, they're rock stars, man.
Oh, my
Like,
God.
I was just
You
gonna say
wanna?
that.
Oh my
Steph's
God.
flying
I
with 4
wanna be with
kids
my
to come
family.
see him. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
my wife's flying out tomorrow.
We
4
flew,
kids.
dude. We flew with Jack one time. Actually, when I was going Chicago to Malibu, because after I got released, I went out to stay out in Malibu. Moose was playing in LA, so we got to see him a couple times before he went to the field and all that. And traveling with Jack, oh my God, dude, it was a battle. It was a grind. And to his credit, he's a kid. He's on the plane for 4 hours. He wants to be up moving and all that. And like, to think that like, you know, Steph
She's-
flying with 4 kids from city to city by
herself.
Solo,
Yeah.
dude.
luggage everywhere,
Yeah.
like man, dude. And we're just like, we're waking up, getting on the bus and going.
Yeah.
And
But
nothing-
everyone doesn't know
everything just
Steph though.
goes.
She got it down pat.
It's unbelievable.
She just runs right through there like, go, keep it moving.
Yeah, you roll.
We went to lunch one of the first days out there, and like you said, we get to the table. Steph's got 4 different lunch boxes there, or 4 different crayon boxes. They all start coloring. Mila comes over. We start talking. Like, it's so cool because also like your kids in a public setting, they just know how to act
Yeah.
and they're used to it. Like they've been to restaurants, they've been to people's houses. So like to see how respectful they are, to see how they act, and like they're not the kid that's at the iPad, you know, stuck at the table. They're conversating. It's so cool to see.
That's all Steph too. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Shout out to Steph
And that's
and
so
Mia.
true too, because sometimes, I don't know if you experience this too, you're about to play, or just got done batting practice or whatever, your wife calls you and she's like, I'm having a terrible day at home. And you're like trying to support the best you can from a distance.
Yeah.
And she's telling you all the things that are going on. And
She's like, so for me, Steph, like, she's the best, dude. She knows that like at 6 o'clock, I'm absolutely dialed in. Like it's time to rock. So she never ever puts her stuff on top of me before a game because she knows I'm like locked in on trying to do what I'm gonna do today. After the game, then we talk about whatever's going on, like whatever's happening, but she never like throws anything my way before the game. She wants me like locked in and focused and ready to rock. So, I mean, she's unbelievable, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that next level of parenting where like you actually gotta, you know, the kids are talking back. You gotta
Oh
make some
my
real
God.
decisions.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
and
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about Sua. So like even with your kids, like you're making some high level decisions along with them. Sua's daughter was no big deal in a movie with The Rock. I don't know if you ever heard of that guy. But his son produces music. I mean,
Did
so
the-
like,
Just with Drake.
Did the song for the show?
did our intro. Did it with some Drake guy. I don't know if you heard about
you
him.
heard him?
No big deal.
But like making some of these big time decisions or trying to help along the ways of that, you know what's best for them, but at the same time, they're seeing some short-term stuff that they want to be a part of. How do you go about
you
that?
hit the nail on the head. The kids, if you ask my 3 kids, if you ask them, hey, what is one thing that dad really wants you to help you with before you leave the house? And they're gonna all say at the same time, help us become better, help us become elite decision makers. We talk about that all the time. We literally use that, help us become elite decision makers. Basically, come down to the point to, hey, what can I control? Okay, what could this lead to, or what could this lead to? And we always talk about, because the Hollywood industry, the sports industry, the music industry, there's a lot of noise, a lot of distractions. Okay, how do I make good decisions? And that we talk about that every single day. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
At what age did you start that?
So when they were young, when they were really young, I started learning sports psychology, and you were learning about the importance of asking questions and creating routines. And the moment they learned how to start talking, my wife and I tripped on a nighttime routine after their baths and everything like that, and reading the story, that we literally kept with them until their teenage years. Every night, we tuck them in the bed, we ask them 3 questions. Since they could barely talk. What was the best part about today? What did you learn? What are you gonna do better tomorrow? Every single day, from the moment they could barely talk until they're teenagers. We didn't know.
I got some catching up to do.
We didn't know, but here's the thing: we didn't think anything of it. We thought nothing of it. But the things that came from it, our kids now tell us. They just started telling us. They're like, yeah, we always think about what was something good today. What can I learn, and what am I going to do better the next time or tomorrow? And we think it wasn't on purpose. We were not smart in thinking it was not on accident. They started to tell us the feedback, and they're like, oh, okay. I learned this. I didn't do this thing because I knew you were going to talk about this later on, or hey, I'm going to do this better tomorrow. They just as little kids started talking about it. Again, I think there's a lot of other things that we messed up on, but I think that from young age we just started to try to talk about decision
That is some
making.
high level.
That's awesome.
It was
process and development.
I'm
of
starting that
children.
tomorrow night. We do something kind of similar at like dinner time. We'll say, "What's the best part about your day?" or "What could you have changed?" and the best part of the day is spending time with our family. I'm like, I love that. That's such a great answer.
Yeah, it's so true.
When we were working with your son to create the song for the show, I was talking to him. And one, if you get on the phone, first of all, I want to call him Sua, and like I get very confused with who I'm talking to because they sound exactly the same, and he'll even do like the 100%. It's like this guy it sounds just like him. It's hilarious. So I don't know if you're just asking him questions or telling him how to speak, but he's so well spoken. But you can tell that you raised him. It's really cool.
So the movie with The Rock, what was the name again?
Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. So was the little girl in that movie. That's my daughter.
No.
Yeah. So that's my daughter.
Rock's
That's
daughter.
awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the story you told us about, she went to her first audition, got shut down a little bit,
yeah.
but was like, Dad, I need to work harder. We need to do this.
Gotta
we need to do
love
that.
Here's what I love about professional athletes, particularly baseball. I think you guys your relationship with failure is so strong because it's baked into your job description. And there's a woman named Sarah Blakely. She is the owner of Spanx, which is like a woman's clothing company. First U.S.
Thanks, absolutely.
Yeah, so she's the first U.S. self-made billionaire. And she was doing an interview and they asked her, how are you so successful? And she goes, oh, it was because it's a question my dad would ask me when we were younger. And the question that he would ask her and her brother every single day was, in what did you fail today? And she thought that was just a weird question. And so her dad would then celebrate her failures. She would come home some days from school and she would be like, oh, I didn't fail today. And she said that her dad was disappointed. Oh, that means you're not trying. And she goes on to say that her dad normalized failure, even celebrated it. Oh, what did you learn from it? How are you gonna get better next time? And then she described that as I got older, when you have this mentality that failure doesn't define me and I'm not afraid of it, I'm gonna learn it. She goes, that became my competitive advantage. And I think it's really cool that your kids and your loved ones can learn from you because you have failed over and over again. You have so many great stories about it.
Yeah, I just failed the last 11 times I went to the plate. So,
So we're right where we need to be.
I got a hit. I snuck one in there, boy. I'll tell you what.
There we go.
It was getting dicey.
I want to tap into that a little bit. Actually, we got some more time, and this might go a while if we really get into this, but.
We can edit some stuff out.
Yeah, no, let's keep going. We got time. Talking about failure and success, I was recently I like to work. I like to work on whether it was on the field. I wanted to be there early. I wanted to leave late. I wanted to do whatever I could to succeed. And we fail, like we talk about, 7 out of 10 times, and you're great. You know the whole spiel. And I was talking to someone recently, and they're like, you work, make sure you have enough balance. And I'm like, man, I enjoy what I'm doing. It's not like I don't enjoy myself while I'm working. So I think a lot of people think like, oh, you're working, so you're like grinding and struggling through it. It's like, no, I actually love it. So I feel pretty good about it. But so I get the balance. But then they told me that it seems like you're afraid of failure because like I put in so much time. It's like if I don't put in the time, then I feel like I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'll fail. And I started thinking about it a lot, and I want to hear what your thoughts are, because I don't think I'm afraid of failure. I've done it so much. We failed so much. Yeah. It's not like I'm not scared of it, but I
enjoy it.
I enjoy success.
Yeah.
And whatever that means. I'm not saying that means that's not a monetary thing. It's just like I have goals, whether it's going up to the plate one time and trying to get that hit, or it's trying to build a business. Yeah. It's just I enjoy working towards that goal and then seeing the results. I'm not afraid of failure. I don't care how much money or how many times I fail come along with it or not. But like I like to see the success. And like, do you think that a lot of people do you think they are actually afraid of failure? And that's the bigger issue, because like, and then I don't know, for me it's like I don't feel like I live with regret when I proceed that way. It's not like I'm like, I better do this, or I regret it. I'll regret it because I think if I fail, I'm gonna regret it. I don't feel that way at all.
I feel like we try to avoid failure as a society, and we try to shy away from it, even though
It needs to be more normalized.
You've learned so much from it. I've learned everything that I know from it. Everybody around us who's struggled and got through it has come out of it a better person or better off in their job, sport, whatever it happens to be. So do you think that is maybe we're setting ourselves up for a lack of accepting failure?
So there's a term in like behavioral economics. Basically, it says a failure feels 2 times worse than a success feels good. So after you lose a game, that feels 2 times worse than after winning a game feels good. And so you always hear that phrase, do you love to win or do you hate to lose? Naturally, as humans, we hate to lose. We hate to. Losing $100 feels way worse than winning winning $100 feels good. And then it becomes, there's so many other varying factors. Some people hate losing or failure because the failure to them is letting down their family members. And there's different types of failures. There's failures of omission or commission, meaning I'm a failure because of what I did, or you feel the failure of the regret of because I didn't what I didn't do. But I think something also that people don't talk about enough about failure is it also keeps you sharp. There are some guys who are so afraid of failure, that's what drives them. That's why they train. That's why they prepare. They're like, they've had a failure and they've hated how it felt so bad. They're like, I will never let myself feel this way again. And yeah, they might love it or whatever, but it's just so unique to everybody. Someone may look at them and say, you're obsessed. Like you're over the top, the Kobe's, the Jordans, but then you ask them, they're like, I love it. I'm not working a day in my life. And so it's so messy and convoluted sometimes.
I hate failing.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, and
I can't stand it.
it's almost like winning is great, but it's almost like you expect it.
Yeah.
So when it happens, it's part of the expectation of holding yourself accountable or to a standard, I guess, right? But then when you lose, it's like, what went wrong?
Yeah.
And I think that is what eats at you,
Yeah.
and you just like, you start dissecting, you start getting into what, stuff you shouldn't be, the stuff that's kind of slowing you down, and stuff that's not keeping it going upward and onward.
Yeah, it's like when I hit a home run or you hit a home run, it's like I'm jacked up, I'm excited, but like I expect that every single time I walk to the play. I expect to be great. And when I fail, it's like, I am not happy.
Yeah, might be a broken bat or two.
Oh, I can snap something over my knee like it's nothing.
You sacrificed some helmets before.
Yeah, a couple. Not anymore. Not anymore. We put them down gently now.
Not since having kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've had a whole bunch of fans tell me, why do they break their bats or why don't they control their emotions? I'm like, do you know how much these guys care so much? Obviously, sometimes it's bad when you break your hand on the wall or whatever, things like that. But I can't tell you how many professional athletes. I mean, I was part of the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. We didn't win a game. I have never seen more grown men get emotional, literally cry, because you care so much about it.
Yeah.
And you just, okay, let's just get after it. But losing, failure is so painful.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So back to my 0 for 10 that I've been having in spring training. Like today, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna set a goal that might actually be obtainable, because getting a hit might not be there. That might not be in the cards.
I'd be asking too much.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We're gonna set a goal. It's gonna be low.
Something realistic.
It's gonna be very low. This is gonna be embarrassing to say, but I told myself today, I'm like, you're gonna run 2 hard 90s out today.
Yeah, break it down.
You're gonna run out 2 hard
build it up.
90s.
Controllable goals. He can
Yes.
control that.
I gotta hit it first.
Well, he's
though.
got it.
And that's true. There's a level where I was like, okay, it's still like might not be.
Like that, you can still give everything. Give it everything on the way up.
Dude, it's so funny. Like
Why is he running? He just struck
I
out.
got absolutely blown apart today too, and ball like trickles up the middle. I'm like, hard 90, let's go. So I put my head down, start running. Grady Sizemore's at first base. He's like, Moose, great hard 90 right there. I'm like, nice. Guy picked it up, stepped on second, the inning's over. And he comes back to me and he's like, man, way to run right there. I'm like, yeah, I thought there was one out. I didn't want him to double me up. He's like, you can't tell me that. I got it right now. I'm like,
I got it right now.
it's fine.
Oh, boy.
It's fine. Yeah, so I've told myself 2 hard 90s today. Same thing happened again. Got absolutely blown up. Hard 90, out by 20 feet because I'm not fast, but I ran and was like, oh.
What is that? Is that a reset?
So redefining success.
Yes. So you listen.
Redefining what good success looks
Simple
like.
goals today. Build it back up, and then
It was the first time I've gotten to run the bases, so it was nice. Yes. And then I ended up striking out, which was not nice. I swung on a slider in the other batter's box.
happens.
Back
Been
up.
there.
I was like, oh, we're back.
Been there once, dude. Oh, it's a jungle.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting a knock, and I was like, oh, that's what it feels like again. This
We
is
can
good.
do this.
Good, bro.
That reminds me of Kansas City 2016. I didn't have a very good first couple of months. So I decided to change one simple thing about what I did, and that was run harder in from the bullpen to the mound, just to get myself energy up. You know, I was kind of just dragging myself in there. Once I lifted my energy to come in and act like I wanted to be there, was there with a purpose, my whole year took off. And I had 2 great years after that. Simple change like, hey man, put the foot on the gas when you hit the gate instead of moseying on out there trying to conserve some energy. You know, act like you want to be here a little bit.
Did that full sprint?
Not the Heath Bell slide in, but
Yeah.
and for me, a full sprint isn't that good. So
It's like my hard 90.
right, it's moseying. But
He looks like he's running hard. He's trying.
just to change the intent a little bit.
It's like, why is he huffing and puffing? He just jogged in from the bullpen.
Lucky I didn't
altitude.
hug Ned while I was out there too. Gave Ned a bit of a hug most days. I remember Toronto, I hugged him. He didn't know what to do. You were out there at first base. I didn't know what I was doing, but I decided to give my manager a hug as he took me out of the game.
This happened in real life?
Real life photos of it and everything. And he was just like, get off me. What are you doing? I think it was late in the season. I knew that I was coming towards the end.
There's,
Just hugging
to
everyone.
your point. when
Thank you for bringing
said-
me in.
When fans say, you know, oh, how did he react like that? Negative and positive, when you're in these situations and something happens, you just don't know. Your body just
Exactly.
does
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
Remember in 14 when we had that wild card game, I scored one of the tying runs or whatever, and I was like, and I'm like, I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? And I couldn't control anything in my body. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, my body's just releasing something. I don't know what the hell is happening. But you get these feelings and you're just like, dude, this is nuts.
Did you happen to see Rory McIlroy hit that bunker shot at the Masters and he do that celebration where he threw his arms like, yeah,
Like that weird.
what is that, dude? Is it
come
Saturday
from?
Night Fever? It's crazy.
That's hilarious, dude.
man.
He's done it a few times too.
Yeah, it's a
Don't know what
signature
to-
now.
Don't know what to do with
Rory?
my hands.
Yeah.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah, those
Those
they just
heightened
happen,
emotions,
dude.
man. Like you get in those playoff situations and everything's on the line and you come through, it's like, oh, I don't even know what's going on. The adrenaline is way too much.
Something you never experienced.
Yeah.
That same game after when Salvi walked off, we like literally chased him around the whole field. And I remember one of the sideline reporters got me for an interview. And I was like, dude, I need like 10 seconds. I'm gonna throw up. I'm literally gonna throw up. Like I need to just like figure out how
Compress.
to breathe again. And it's just, you don't have control. You lose control of your body at that point.
You can't replicate that too. That what's on the field, that's really hard to replicate, that feeling of success. Like, yeah, right now, if I get an email that I think is gonna like do something good for the podcast or the business, I stand up, I'm like, yes! Yes! No one's cheering. It's like, what
You
the
guys
fuck?
see that?
Anybody
It's a good email.
That's what we got.
I can't wait to hit send right here.